What's going on, my lane ones? It's your boy MoashDMC back again. I can't tell if you guys can hear the noise in the background, but I actually just got two 3D printers. I have my setup fully complete now, and I will be dropping a store to sell certain merch that I do 3D print. So if you guys hear the fans in the background, I'm sorry, but for today, I mean, just bear with me. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. Today, I'm going to be talking about awakenings. Maybe not even just devil fruit awakenings, but just awakening a latent ability. And I feel as though a couple people will be doing that or have already done that. But before I get sidetracked, let's just get right into the video. All right, boom. Law, Kid, Luffy, Zoro, Killer. To be honest, all these supernovas will be an awakening and latent ability. Well, to be honest, two of them already have. Technically, to be honest, no, they're all going to be, I feel as though by the end of Wano, they're all going to somehow, some way, awakened and latent ability, right? Even though Kid already technically did, but I'm going to get into the semantics in a little bit. But without further ado, even though I said that already, what we know about awakenings. So far, we've only seen four awakenings now. We've seen a lot more awakenings, but we'll get into that because that's another topic in the video. We've technically seen the people on Impel Down are awakening, but we've seen Law, Kid, Doflamingo, and Katakuri. And 3 out of the 4 of those people all have Conqueror's Haki. So relating that to Conqueror's Haki is what I'm going to be talking about later. But for now, what we know so far about awakening is that after you've had your devil fruit for a certain amount of time, you can finally get to a level of awakening. The one thing about it is there's no true description on how to awaken it and how you even know you awaken it. And the conversation between Kid and Law sort of like hammered that home for me. Kid was like, yo, have you awakened your devil fruit? And Law's like, yeah, but it saps my stamina and I can only use it as a last resort. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, so how did you just know that? Like, you just wake up one day, like trying some stuff with your devil fruit, and then poof, you got it. An interesting note is that because of the awakening, you basically gain another power, but in a sense, like what kind of power is it really? And to describe that, well, not power, but like, does it fall within the categories or the realm of a devil fruit? For Doflamingo, when Luffy was fighting Dofi, he was like, it's like you're not even a paramecia anymore. And I was trying to equate it back to more the Nen chart with how we see like enhancers versus like emitters, and how Doflamingo can create string. So his awakening is obviously going to affect the environment around him. Katakuri can effectively create mochi, so his awakening is going to effectively affect the things around it. So with Kid and Law basically creates a room which already is emitting like a field where he can basically control anything. So in the same sense, he can manipulate things within his room, which technically was already the base ability of his devil fruit. But now he's able to physically put the room on other objects, which he did with his sword. Kid was already able to draw in the create a magnetic field and draw in all the metal around him. So effectively, the only thing he's doing now is changing the magnetic properties of something that's not magnetic. So all these things are affecting something on the outward portion of them. And the thing is, these are all emitter type devil fruits. These are all devil fruits that are already affecting the environment around them. Room, re-room. Kid using the magnetic field with Doflamingo creating mochi, Doflamingo creating string, Katakuri creating mochi. So moving forward, we've only technically have seen paramecias awaken. So we haven't really seen zone. We only saw false zone awakenings, and we only saw and we haven't even seen Logia. And everyone's description is that, oh, Punk was a perfect example of a Logia awakening. Crocodile was a perfect example of a Logia awakening. Drum Kingdom, when Ace went there, was a perfect example of Logia awakening. And to me, I'm just like, that falls way too short. So you're telling me the pinnacle of devil fruits besides the mythical zone, you're able to just create things around you and change the environment around you, when technically with the power of a Logia, you can already do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, Aokiji can already freeze everything around him. That's already his base ability. Akainu can already, Sakazuki can already create magma. That's already his base ability. So I'm just like, all right, we need a little bit more. Anel, technically, Raijin Allen, I'm like, Anel can already effectively create lightning all around him. So, you know what I mean? Big Mom, technically. So think about Big Mom's ability, but it's just, so not Big Mom's ability. When Big Mom used, I think it was, I forgot the name of the attack, but basically when she used Zeus, Zeus on the roof, and Zeus was like sparking around, hitting everyone, and no one could avoid it. or Tenjin, I think it was called. But Big Mom's ability on the roof when she was effectively using Zeus's power to strike lightning in the entire vicinity, I'm like, Anel can already sort of do something like that. So for their awakenings to be just that, I feel like that falls very, very, very short for what a Logia should be. And technically, when you think about it, mythical zones are the pinnacle of Devil Fruits, because not only do you gain the zone type ability, but then you also gain another, the zone type perks, but then you gain another ability alongside it, and that ability you can use technically to create lightning in a sense, or use fire to regenerate yourself, or become a dragon, use wind, use thunder, basically use fire. So I'm like, all right, it needs to be a little bit more. Use ice breath, you know what I'm saying? Like, the list goes on. So feels though for Logia, it may have to be a step further. I'm actually making a video on that with Parvision. Look out for that one. But besides that, what we truly know about a Devil Fruit Awakening is that after you have a Devil Fruit for a period of time, you can awaken it, and it basically gives you another ability. So far, we've only seen it affect the environment around them, and that is really all we truly know. And what is the prerequisite to awakening the Devil Fruit is still up for question. But now I wanted to talk more about the Devil Fruit origins. Seeing the fact that, knowing that Devil Fruits are technically altering the lineage of a person, and we know that Dr. Vegapunk also has knows about the lineage factor. The more I think about it, is the lineage of a Devil Fruit that of a grand Haki user? Let me explain. I feel as though I didn't really say that correctly, but when you think about certain Devil Fruits, like Suda's Devil Fruit from the Marine, her Devil Fruit gives her the power to wash or cleanse the soul. And I keep getting this feeling that soul ties, the willpower, Haki are all interchangeable. Oh wait, not interchangeable. They're all connected with Devil Fruits, and how the origin of Devil Fruits truly comes from the manifestation of the user's will. And even with Rayleigh first describing Conqueror's Haki, he says the embodiment of the user's spirit. And then we're thinking about, Zoro. Zoro technically has Zone-esque transformations, and so does Luffy, with Ichi Gorilla, Knee Gorilla, when he has uses Gorilla Arms, Tiger Hunt, when he but mainly when he uses Ashura. And Ashura, he's basically manifesting 3 heads, 9 swords, or 6 more swords. And in that case, I'm like, okay, that in itself could be a mythical human model, a mythical zone human model Ashura. And then I got to thinking, like, if the presence of your Haki reaching a certain level can make you manifest certain things. And we also know that the souls of the Devil Fruits have a reincarnation cycle. And we also know that the voice of all things, there's a voice in everything. And we also know that the poneglyphs can hold voices of people in the past. Why couldn't it be that the embodiment of the user's spirit doesn't want to leave and basically incorporates in or flows into a Devil Fruit? And that is how it all plays out. And you think about a couple other instances with Skypiea, and they're talking about the ancestral tree, saying that the bell guided the spirits to the tree. And it could be a situation where because trees also hold life or can reproduce life, instead of basically putting your spirit into another body, I already talked about it, 2 spirits in the same body or 2 Devil Fruits in the same body make it like is not possible, and they basically scatter apart, like what Bruno said. Now you're instead of a person, you can go into other beings that have life but no soul technically, and that's like plants and such. And we know they don't really have souls because Big Mom's able to put her soul inside plants, and then they become sentient. So imagine the spirits, in some way, shape, or form, they were guided into the trees or into other trees, and then they basically bear fruit or real fruit, and that became the essence of the Devil Fruit. But I also want to talk about why basically you get your power is drained, or you basically become weak when you get into water. But I'm gonna say that for another video because I feel like that's really important in the origin of Devil Fruits. But I want to talk more about now is false awakenings. So the reason why I think the awakenings or false awakenings are a thing is because of Impel Down. When we saw all the Impel Down guards, they basically are like mindless creatures. Like they don't really have a will of their own. And the thing about will is that will is tied directly to Haki, and strong wills are tied directly to Conqueror's Haki. And you're thinking about it, okay, if none of these people have a strong will and then they like awaken their Devil Fruit, it almost like the spirit of the Devil Fruit and their spirit sort of either disperse or cancel each other out, and you just become this mindless being. And having strong willpower would be able to overpower that new spirit in your body, and in a sense, you're able to truly awaken. And we're getting to the part where, okay, now if that's the case, then how did Law awaken his Devil Fruit? Law is the only one without Conqueror's Haki. And there could be a couple things. I also want to talk about Law Conqueror Haki a little bit later on. But Law's ability is able to physically control or manipulate anything within his room. So if that's the case, it can sort of manipulate the Devil Fruit as well. So we haven't seen him be able to effectively affect the soul directly, but in a sense, his Devil Fruit does allow him the power to manipulate anything within his room. So I don't see why not. He can sort of push the limits of his Devil Fruit while still being able to control it. But I'm going to talk more about False Awakenings. And the reason why False Awakenings are so important in this arc right now in Wano is because we truly haven't seen an awakening displayed that we shouldn't have. And by that, I mean, we saw Kid was on purpose. Like, Kid was purposely put there to fight a Big Mom. We saw Laws was there purposely to fit Big Moms. But with everyone else, we haven't seen anyone push the pinnacle to reach an awakening. And that's like Luffy, and that's the Tobiropo, and that's technically Kaido right now. Because we don't know if Kaido's awakened, but we'll just wait and see. But the reason why I mentioned Tobiropo in this instance is because with King, we saw that he has the emblem of Impel Down. And if we're ever going to get Zone Awakenings, plural, it has to be now. And I really don't like the idea that the Impel Down guards are like the pinnacle of the Zone Awakenings, and if Zones Awakens, they basically get taken over by the spirit. But I like the idea that False Awakenings can be a thing, and how Chopper mentioned the carnivorous zones are more like bloodthirsty or more fearsome when it comes to how they fight. And I like the idea that it could be a situation where it also plays out with other type of zones, and the ancient zones have been a talking point throughout Wano, not because of their durability, but every time they fight, they're fighting based on the strength of that ancient zone. Like how Sasaki was like, oh, this is how the Triceratops fought back in the day, and he started propelling his I forgot what it's called, but he started flying. I don't know how it happened, but he started flying. With King, he started stretching his head and he snapped it. With Queen became the Brachio Snake. Who's who else? He was just the cat, so that doesn't really matter much. But Black Maria was actually able to use the poison from her spider ability and also use illusions. So I'm just like, okay, so these are like things or abilities we see in the Devil Fruit have. So why not take it a step further and maybe even use False Awakenings? And the reason why I want to talk about False Awakenings too is because, technically speaking, and I already mentioned Queen, right? The Tobiropo, when you look at them, they all have Oni horns. And I originally thought, okay, maybe it was just for design, but no, when you look in the anime and you look at them in their hybrid, they still have their horns. And so it's not just decoration. These people are truly Onis. And like, how could that be? Well, I already mentioned it earlier in the video. Lineage factor. If the lineage factor of a Devil Fruit, or the spirit or the power of the Devil Fruit, alters your lineage factor so you can able to use the ability, Queen is also a person that we know worked with Dr. Vegapunk, who was heralded for being the person to discover the lineage factor. Judge also worked with him, and he's able to alter his kid's lineage factor in a sense, and that's how Sanji later on got his exoskeleton. And that was like, okay, so now we get the precipice of awakening. Sanji was the first. Technically, you can say Zoro was the first with his figuring out Conqueror's Haki, or he's losing Conqueror's Haki in a sense against Kaido. Sanji awakened his latent German abilities, and now we're moving forward. I want to see other things awaken, and that is the Tobiropo. I feel as though Queen awakening their lineage factor, not Queen awakening, but Queen altering their lineage factor to that of an Oni, because you already know he has the Ice Oni virus. Kaido was already worked on back in the day, so why not make a case that Queen possibly worked on Kaido? And he altered the genetics of all the Tobiropo members, and they're truly Onis. And you're asking me, where am I going with this? Well, for a true awakening, it has to involve, I believe, Conqueror's Haki being able to control the will of the Devil Fruit. And in doing so, we get the expansion of how Conquerors are the pinnacle of power, not just coding, but also being able to control the other entities like the spirit of the Devil Fruit. And like, where are you going with this? Still, you're talking out of your ass. All right. But then we tack on another situation with the Voice of All Things. The Voice of All Things, in a sense, is able to communicate with all things. And technically, we only ever seen it telepathically. But then now you add Conqueror's Haki, and we saw what Luffy did. Luffy was physically able to communicate with Momonosuke and saying, don't worry, bro, I'm gonna be back. Sorry, I slipped up, I messed up, my bad, I'm gonna be back in a second. And like, so using the Voice of All Things and using Conqueror's Haki in tandem, maybe you're able to use the power to command. So Conqueror's Haki is imposing your will, is an embodiment of your spirit, imposing your will on another, and voice of all things being able to communicate with others. In Kaido's case, he technically, that one scene when they the combined attack between him and Big Mom, it was like, I can't hear the voices anymore. And Big Mom's like, oh, is that so? Some of them survived. So no, Kaido said he can still hear the voices. That means that he technically may have the voice of all things, and he has Conqueror's Haki. And Kaido's already shown to have stronger Haki than Luffy, and is maybe a situation where he does also have the power to command. And where am I going with this? If Kaido realizes that the battle is as bad as it is now, he realizes that all Tobirop was defeated, King, Queen, Jack are all defeated. Kaido may try to do something, because right now all he's ever done is just talk. I mean, not talk, enjoy the battle between him and Luffy. But now in this last chapter, we finally saw a semblance of Kaido being like, okay, wow, I actually did have a history with that old hag, and now she's gone, or now she's defeated. Wait, what about everyone else? If she's defeated, that means everyone else has to be defeated. And we get a realization moment for Kaido, and we get Kaido's awakening ×2. And by that I mean we see him truly awaken his mythical zone, seeing the epitome of how a zone should be when they awaken. But also we may get false awakenings, or maybe true awakenings, depending on if they have Conqueror's Haki or not, with the Oni type beings on Onigashima. And this may add an influx to how the situation with Yamato. And I like the idea that maybe Sanji fights Yamato, but that's neither here nor there. But Yamato also gets affected as well. But Yamato may be able to counter because Yamato does have Conqueror's Haki. But for people like Who's Who, Alti, Black Maria, Page One, Sasaki, they can't because they don't. Besides Alti, because I do believe Alti has Conqueror's Haki, but that's neither here nor there. I do like that situation where we get to see them truly awakening or force awakening, or false awakening, because Kaido commands them with the power to command with the combination of Conqueror's Haki and the voice of all things. And we get an alteration between true awakenings and false awakenings all together. Besides that, I want to talk more about Law now, because I already mentioned that you may have to have Conqueror's Haki to truly awaken the Devil Fruit. I already said that Law has like a caveat because his room can control anything within his room. Whereas Law, though, I feel as though Law's ambition, Law's will, in a sense, he should have Conqueror's Haki. And already, when you think about it, the embodiment of the user's spirit or the user's will, him being able to change the properties of his room to silent, to shout out Corazon, shout out Rosinante, sort of implies that, okay, not only is it an awakening ability being able to alter things around him, but now he's able to enforcedly impose his will on his room. Like before, he was able to sort of like, he can change gravity, tact, he can change use tact, he can use gamma knife, he can use etc, shambles, take the personality out of someone, take someone's heart out, all these stuff. The perennial use surgery, which is going to come up later on very soon. I already talked about that in my last video. That's neither near here nor there. But he's able to do all the stuff with his room, but him being able to change the properties to make his room silent is a very big thing to me. And I feel as though that's sort of embodying the user's spirit, and how basically Luffy took on the will of Ace and being able to use Red Hawk, or basically attributed that to Red Hawk. The same thing was almost like with Law and Rosinante. But Luffy was sort of Conqueror's Haki, so you're like, okay, that can sort of like, all right, rubber turning fire makes sense. Law, But why would Law have Conqueror's Haki? And the more you think about it is, Law's ambition and Law's will has been always tied to Doflamingo. But his perspective and his perception has always been tied to taking down Doflamingo for everything he did to Rosinante. And the more you think about it, you're like, okay, Law is pretty strong-willed, because he basically lived his whole life to take down this one person who did him the most wrong, but also took out the person that was closest to him. So like his will is pretty strong, but then you think about it, like, is he really free-willed when his will is tied directly to someone else? And I'm gonna be paraphrasing, but it was now live with me and Parvision, but basically talking about how now, with Law's true goal and true ambition, his will is now freed from the shackles it was always shackled by, basically, or caged by, in Doflamingo's case with the birdcage. And now he became the more free-willed person, and now his will, or his sense of self, has increased exponentially since Dressrosa. Not only that, because when you think about it, Law needed help to take down Doflamingo, and basically he wanted to take down Doflamingo's factories in order for Kaido to take out Doflamingo. So it went from wanting to take down Doflamingo by any means and trying to get someone else to do it, not even Luffy, to then on facing a Yonko head on, and then changing your dream to something that it's even as impossible to figure out as maybe finding the All Blue, and maybe even finding the One Piece. And because technically it may go hand in hand, to find the One Piece, they mentioned you have to have all 4 world poneglyphs. For Law, to find the will of D, you may have to get to the end where the One Piece is, or get the 4 road point glyphs, and that one entitled taking down the 4 Yonko. So now not only is he freed and has a dream and has a perspective of himself, or a better perception of himself, he now understands what needs to be done to do, or to figure out what the will of D is. Sorry. So in a sense, Law is now a free-willed person with a strong will. So throughout the story, people say that you have to be born with Conqueror's Haki. It's never truly been stated. It was only saying that, of course he has it because he's the son of Dragon. But besides that, we haven't really seen anyone say, oh, you have to be born with Conqueror's Haki. So for Law's case, it could be a situation where it only took him being where he is now and experiencing everything he experienced now and understanding himself and understanding what he needs to do moving forward for him finally to be free of the shackles that were holding him back the entire time, for him now to gain that Conqueror's Haki, the strong will, the strong spirit that he always needed in order to move forward in his life to begin with. So Law getting Conqueror's Haki now in the story is the best reveal. If Law did get Conqueror's Haki, it is the best reveal of Conqueror's Haki to me by far. Yamato was a kid. Luffy was saving Ace, or he showed signs before that, but his true sign was like saving Ace. Zoro was versus King Truly. Kid was possibly fighting Kaido, and I'm going to talk about Kid a little bit more. So Doflamingo was a kid. Ace was a kid. Katakuri was basically a child as well. So these are all people who unlock Conqueror's Haki by like in different means. Whereas Law is going to be in him showing that he has Conqueror's Haki is going to be in a very strenuous situation, obviously, as well. But the build up to how he unlocked Conqueror's Haki is the most probably well-written part about Conqueror's Haki, and hopefully get an expansion on Conqueror's Haki and what you can do with it as well. But back to Awakenings, and then Kid. With Kid, I always really wondered if he knows he has Conqueror's Haki, because Luffy really didn't know until he was truly explained to him by Rayleigh. Whereas Kid may not know either. Yes, we know that Kaido knows that Kid has it, but with Luffy and Kid, they were always shown like to be parallel side by side, and even into an Impel Down. Whereas Kid fought Kaido, and then Kaido's like, you're just like that kid brat who had Conqueror's Haki. Luffy used Conqueror's Haki when he was unconscious. Zoro unknowingly used Conqueror's Haki against Kaido, possibly. Yamato unknowingly used Conqueror's Haki as well. So then Kaido would be tied to 3 people who unknowingly used Conqueror's Haki in situations, but Luffy did it when he was unconscious, Zoro did it unknowingly. And it could be a situation where Kid did the same thing, and Kid doesn't even know he has Conqueror's Haki. Law doesn't know he has Conqueror's Haki, and the True Awakenings are tied to Conqueror's Haki, and they both have it. They will both have it too. So then that ties to people gaining the True Awakenings through Conqueror's Haki. And if you don't have Conqueror's Haki, you end up like the Impel Down guards being overtaken by the very spirit that you consume to begin with. But now, let's go on to the side characters. Well, not side characters, but like not the main focus. And that's that's Zoro and Killer. Talking about Conqueror's Haki, it may be a situation where to conquer your sword is to create a black blade, and that you have to have Conqueror's Haki in order to create a black blade. And that's the one thing we truly don't know yet. It could be you could continue to pump armament Haki into your blade, and after a while, you finally gain a black blade through strenuous battle. And then the chapter with Kozaburo, we know that all swords have a will of their own and personality of their own. And then Zoro's like, oh, so you're testing me, Enma. And it could be a situation where Conqueror's Haki has to be used in order to tame a blade, because all the blades have a personality and all the blades have a will of their own. And it could also be a situation where all the blades need to achieve something. And maybe it is to achieve something, I mean by throughout the battles, they basically let me put it like this. Luffy has a goal, who wants to become king of the pirates, and after being used by certain users throughout time, they sort of like share the will of the sword user. I don't know why I can't put these into words. They sort of share the will of the sword user, and they get a will of their own or a personality of their own. And in time, yes, they weren't able to trade a black blade in that moment because truly they weren't a conqueror. The person who wielded them wasn't a conqueror. But after a while, the sword user comes by who can not only conquer the blade, but also help fulfill the dream of the blade as well. It could be for Enma, it is to slay Kaido or slay Orochi. For Ryuma, it's possibly to liberate, to save Wano at one point. For Yoru, it was probably to take down the strongest swordsman at the time. Something like that. And I feel as though Black Blade Awakening also has to tie into Conqueror's Haki, but who knows? I personally feel that Brook should get a Black Blade because he's had his blade for so long and it's never been cracked, not even once, and he hasn't even shown armor in Haki, but that's neither here nor there. So talking about more Awakenings, let's talk about Killer now. And the theory that's going around is that Killer is a 3-eyed tribe member. And to be honest, I can see it because Kid has shown signs of knowing what the hell he's doing. And by that I mean he went to Big Mom's territory for something. We don't know what it is. My personal belief is that it was a road poneglyph. And if he did go to Big Mom's territory for a poneglyph, one, how do you know about it? And that's it, guys. If you don't know, go watch my Rouge video. I talk about how he knows about the road poneglyphs. But how is he going to read them? It could be a situation that Killer, one or two things, Killer has the voice of all things already, and he already unlocked the ability of his third eye, or he's going to later on do so. And his awakening is going to tie into the 3 Eye tribes, but also him possibly gaining a Devil Fruit. And I feel as though the one he's going to get is Apu's. I feel as though it's just right that not only was Killer the one to figure out Apu's power, but also Killer uses sound to fight, and he already ate a Smile Devil Fruit, a failed one, and it's to the point where he already lost the ability to swim. So why not give him a true power up by taking out the one man who basically caused all this, or caused the snowball effect to happen to your crew, and that was Apu. You take him out, you get his Devil Fruit, and he possibly eats it, because we do know that the Smile users can eat multiple Devil Fruits because they ate multiple Smiles throughout them living in the towns. So it could be a situation where Apu not only shows his awakened side ability, but with the 3 Eye tribe, but also, to be honest, he may even run into Who's Who, and it could be a situation where we got Killer and Who's Who talking, and Who's Who reveals that he's part of the 3 Eye tribe, and so does Killer, but also Apu gets taken out in the same time, and Killer gets his Devil Fruit. I just want Killer to get an upgrade. I feel as though Killer's the only one technically that has not gotten an upgrade. Kid at least has an awakening. Luffy's possibly getting all this Haki and awakening. Zoro Black Blade, but also conquers Haki. Law awakening, possible conquers Haki as well. So I feel as though Killer needs something to stay on par with all these people, because Killer's being shown in the same light relatively to all these people as well. And I already talked about the Tobi awakening, and then Kaido tacked onto that with the power to command. But Kaido awakening needs to happen, because out of every time throughout the fight, Kaido was never really been shown to be angry. And I feel as though it's going to be a situation where now that he lost all Big Mom fall, he realizes his crew fell as well, and he does get angry. And we get to see the development of Kaido going into an awakened form, which would be beautiful, because Luffy has fought every single opponent so far, basically in the New World besides Hori, and they've all awakened. And technically, Hori awakened too by eating all the pills, but that's neither here nor there. So Kaido awakening, lock it in, needs to happen. But now let's talk about Luffy's awakening. If you guys haven't seen my last video, go and check it out, because I talked about Luffy's awakening ad nauseum. Well, not ad nauseum, but I mentioned it quite a few times. But I feel as though Luffy, he said this is the final time I'm going to go in Gear Force. I'm not going to stop until I knock you out the country. Listen, man. I understand that Luffy's been fighting Kaido in base, and now you went to Snake Man, and Kaido can't even perceive where his punches come from. I understand that. Kaido, if you lose to Luffy in Gear Force, Snake Man, we have to have a discussion. Personally, I don't believe, like, even with Law and Kid's awakenings, they still were not able to defeat Big Mom. And I like it, so like Oda drew it in a way, or wrote it in a way, that they beat her, but they didn't defeat her. You know what I'm saying? Like, they knocked her off of Onigashima. She hit the bomb, which was the nail in the coffin to defeat Big Mom. Whereas Luffy is just going to be using Conqueror's Haki and the Devil Fruit. I don't think so. Especially now, since we're knowing we're going to get an interruption in the battle. I feel as though it may come to the point where Luffy has to awaken his Devil Fruit. Or maybe not even awaken his Devil Fruit, but he uses something else to amplify from Gear 4th to Gear 5th. Maybe he just uses Gear 5th, and then the awakening is something else, but who knows? With all the ties to Sun God, I feel as though it just makes sense that we're going to see some relevance of a Sun God in Wano, and maybe Luffy. I like the idea that Luffy uses his fire and his Ryo to blow hot air into his body to expand himself not only from the small bound man, but to a true giant. And we may get Sumo Luffy, and Sumo Luffy actually has the power to knock Kaido out of Onigashima or out of Wano, whereas Snake Man, I don't think he has the power to do so. And even so, like I said in my last video, I don't believe that Luffy, out of all the final attacks in a chapter, Snake Man was shown to do the least amount, or depicted to show the least amount of damage done to Kaido, because Kaido's basically looking at the punches like, where are these coming from? So in a sense, I don't feel as though that's going to be the last thing for Luffy to use against Kaido. It could be a situation where Kaido one-shots Luffy out of Snake Man. Like, Kaido gets pissed off, and he's like, I'm tired of this. And he goes at Snake Man. Because you know how Luffy likes to do, like, Luffy and Kaido both like to do the head-on 50-50 attacks. And I feel as though Kaido may bring out something even stronger that we haven't seen before and use it against Luffy. That's neither here nor there. Maybe to be honest, I feel as though he may, like, put fire on, like, we haven't even seen him do it yet, but he uses fire and lightning together, like almost like Sanji, and we get like a Conqueror's coded, like, fiery, like his combos lit on fire with Conqueror's Haki and lightning, and maybe even wind behind it too. Like, he generates all three elements and uses it to swing at Luffy. I feel that that makes the most sense that's coming up, and he uses that to knock out Luffy knock out Luffy momentarily, and then something happens with Kaido. I don't know. It's a lot to think about because I don't really understand like how it's going to play out with Luffy. But I can see Kaido using some attack to possibly knock Luffy out of Gear 4th, but maybe not, like almost like how he knocked Luffy out of Gear 4th the first time they fought. In a sense, doing that as well. And then Luffy realizes, okay, this is not even enough to defeat Kaido, so I need something even more. So, because technically Kaido could use his wind to make himself move faster as well, so he may use that in order to make up, compensate for fighting Gear 4 Snake Man, but it's neither here nor there. So Luffy's awakening, I believe is going to be possibly him turning into a sumo wrestler. It may be Sun God, like Sun Wukong, Sun Goku. But another thought is that he gains another property of rubber because basically Kid was able to magnetize other things. Law was basically able to put rooms around other things, but basically put his room on inanimate objects. So if we're adding to the Paramecia being able to affect the environment, Luffy being able to erase things or use Eraser as his next ability for rubber if he does awaken it, and it almost plays in hand with the Gorosei talking about it was erased from the annals of history. And it could be a situation where Luffy gains the ability to erase things. It can erase attacks. It can erase people out of existence. But existence erasure is pretty broken if you'd ask me. So who knows where it's going to go. I feel as though Oda really can go any direction with this. He can make it so that it's another Gear 4th form. He can make vulcanization. He can make him a giant. He can make him, like I said, Sun Wukong. There's so many aspects he can truly go with this. And I really can't wait to see where he does go with it. But for now, I feel as though I touched upon everything I want to touch upon on this video. So, like I said at the end of every single video, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. Tell me what you guys think is going to happen with the Tobiropo and Luffy awakening. Oh, to add on, the reason why I think Tobiropo get back up is because in this last chapter, we saw X-Drake get defeated and get back up. So the other Tobiropo members, come on, step up. Unless you're telling me X-Drake is the strongest besides Ulti. Doesn't make sense. But besides that, like I said at the end of every single video, tell your friends, your family, loved ones. No, whoa. That is for my stream. Guys, I'm going to get this right one of these days. Like I said at the end of every single video, leave a comment down below, hit the like button, subscribe button, and the bell button to come back next time and remain enlightened, y'all. Peace.